Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. We're here with a special guest. We have Lana coming in and telling us the story of her son's problems with the police department regarding medical marijuana. So let's jump right into that, because this is the kind of thing we've heard of happening before, and it's still happening, and you just got to hear this story. So Lana, thanks for coming in and tell us what happened and what led up to it, and so everybody understands clearly what the problem is.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I appreciate you having me. My son is on medical marijuana in Oregon, and he did a dumb thing. He tried to take his medical marijuana on a vacation with him. He had 1 pound of his medical marijuana plus 6 pounds and 7 ounces of edibles, and most of that is food stuff. My son is on a strict gluten-free diet. He has celiac disease, and he can't eat a lot of stuff, so I prepare all of his food for him. He can't go to like McDonald's or something like that, because that's poison to his body. It causes him to have seizures. He has 3 service respond dogs that take care of him when he has a seizure. When he was going on a trip in early June of this year, he got pulled over by an Oregon police officer just outside of Vail, Oregon, and he believes that the policeman saw his medical marijuana card when he showed him his driver's license. And anyway, the cop let him go, searched him and everything, and let him go, and followed him to the border. And 13 miles over the border in Idaho, he was pulled over again by a Idaho State Patrol, and the cop that pulled him over was waving his gun around and told him that if he didn't let them search his vehicle, that he would shoot his service dogs. So my son, being afraid, he's never been in trouble or anything, he let them search the vehicle. He knew that he had his medical marijuana there and that he was probably going to get busted. But, you know, and he's willing to take the responsibility for that in hindsight. They took his dogs to the dog pound there in Canyon County, and they took him to jail. I got a phone call late that night saying that the dogs were in the dog pound and to come and get them. And so I hurried over there. I asked the policeman what I needed to bring with me to get the dogs out. And he said, nothing, just your driver's license. And when I got there, it cost me $90 to get the dogs out of the dog pound. And they also put GPS tracking devices in the 2 dogs. I brought the dogs home. The dogs have been sick ever since. They got kennel cough, and they have worms. It's taken me 4 times of treating them, and hopefully we've gotten rid of the worms so far. And my son was put into jail in Canyon County, and he had with him his other medications from his doctor, and they wouldn't let him have those. They put him in a cell, and he was in there for 4 days. He couldn't eat anything that they were trying to give him because it's like poison to him. And so he had 2 seizures that I know of. When he was coming out of a seizure, a man was trying to rape him, and it scared him. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days for him to come out of a seizure. He told the police officers that had happened, and they put him into solitary confinement. He gets out 1 hour a day, so he spends 23 hours in a little tiny cell. His glasses got left in his vehicle, and so he can't even read. All he's got to do is just sit there. His dogs are brokenhearted. They lay in the hallway by his bedroom door, and they just cry because they don't know where he's at. And they're trained to do a job for him, to protect him when he has seizures. And, you know, I don't know what to do. I've tried everybody. I've tried the ACLU. I've tried the animal abuse people. I have tried everything to get help. I'm on Social Security. My son was on Social Security. We don't have money for lawyers. I'm trying right now to write letters to the senators, congressmen, the judge, the DA, his public defender, asking for, oh shoot, what's the name?
Well, that's already a problem to finding a lawyer, because you got to find a lawyer that can what do you call it? Practice in Idaho as well as practice in Oregon, or at least have some connections in Oregon to properly defend him. Man, what a stickly case! That's just unbelievable. What part of where is he actually? Is he in Idaho now?
It's Canyon County.
Okay. What's the city?
It's Caldwell, Idaho.
It's what?
Caldwell.
Oh, Caldwell, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've heard of, we've had stories before about where Oregon police officers have identified a medical marijuana patient, let him go, and then notified the Utah police, and then had them put, then they get pulled over and got cited. That's nothing. That's happened. It's just so disgusting. But my gosh, yeah, and I can't really offer much either. What else to do? The only thing I could think of is try to contact Idaho Normal, if there is anybody in Idaho
I've tried
Normal.
to, and there are two. I talked to 2 different men there, and I don't know, but it seems like to me that everybody in Idaho is very rude. They didn't have time to talk to me.
Wow.
You know, I've tried everything. I belong. You know, I don't use marijuana by myself, but my son does, and I have joined the National Marijuana Patient wall that is online on Facebook, and so I'm getting. I spend basically 8 to 10 hours a day on the computer trying to find somebody to help, listening to other people's stories, and just, you know, trying to help my son any way I can.
Yeah, and so his status is now. What is his status? Is it the next hearing? What's coming up?
His hearing is the end of this month, on the 29th of September at 1:30 in the courthouse there in Caldwell.
Wow. Yeah, that's ordinarily we'd be advocating court support, but unfortunately, it's
hard.
ways away. Yeah. Wow, I'm trying to run through my head, trying to think of how to get something going in Caldwell, Idaho. But that's something to be thinking about and kicking around. It certainly is frustrating, though, you know, and you come across things like your case, which is horribly frustrating. And then I have another one. I know of a case where a lady is terminal. Her doctor has told her that if she uses medical marijuana, he will cut off her pain meds.
Yeah.
You know, and this is another common problem that's happening everywhere. And people take your choice. You want pain meds or medical marijuana? Well, the medical marijuana makes the pain meds bearable, you know, and so, I mean, it's unbelievable how callous it is, and, you know, wow, it's just, whew. But anyway, I really feel for you. I'm so frustrated. I know there's nothing compared to how frustrated you must feel, but we will certainly do what we can, and I will do what I can and contact people I know of, and boy.
Well, I'm really grateful that you're willing to have me on here.
Definitely.
You know,
Well, yes, I really appreciate you coming and telling the story, because we want people to know what's actually happening out there. You know, sometimes you hear about an unfortunate incident or this and that. Well, here's the real deal. I mean, this is from a person that's really involved in it, and you can see what it does to the family. And this is all over a plant. That's what's so ridiculous. And it's like edibles. When they talk about possession of marijuana, and they talk about medibles, they count the whole thing, you know. So there may be, you know, just say a half ounce of actual cannabis in it, but they count the flour and the fruit and the sugar and the moisture. I mean, everything. They weigh the whole thing, and it's just so unbelievably unfair. And yet, it's just the way they do it. And so that's what motivates activists like myself. I know to keep fighting. You know, that's what started me out in the first place. I got busted, pissed me off, and that was 15 years ago, and I'm still pissed off. You know. So, well, anyway, we're ending the segment. We've run out of time here, but I really appreciate Lana coming on, and you and I will definitely keep in touch, and I'll be letting people know of updates, and you're certainly welcome to come by and come on anytime you'd like, and get a hold of me for anything I could possibly help you with. Let me know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lana. You bet. Well, we certainly feel for Lana, and if anybody out there has some ideas, get a hold of me, dankbagman@hotmail.com. Welcome back to the second half, the Eugene Cannabis TV show, episode number 547. We have Jeremy with us, and Jeremy's going to do the story. Came from the Colorado Public Radio.
Gone to pot. What words should we use to talk about weed? Reaching in for the reefer, celebrating 420, or lighting up a little hay is no longer a secret in Colorado. It's been legal to buy weed here for 9 months now, and the drugs movement into the mainstream may not just be changing how people consume the substance, might also be shifting our vocabulary. Words and metaphors people use to talk about the marijuana have made the drug sound innocent and innocuous. Mary Jane, grass, herb, and transgressive and underground, chronic, dope, Don Juan. Since the drug has historically been used in the shadows, has spread a lot of anti-event language. Take the word pot, for example, says Jeffrey Nunberg, ergolinguist at UC Berkeley and NPR Fresh Air contributor. Pot probably comes from the Mexican and patagawa, which is word for seeds, which may come from the expression and patacuan de Dallas, which means a sour soup, which is some kind of concoction involving marijuana, he says. How it got shortened to pot is unclear, but it was probably around the 1930s that Americans started using that word. As more states legalize marijuana for medical and or recreational use, it becomes less important to be cute or coy, he says. Some of that language will disappear. The term marijuana emerged in the United States in the 1930s and 40s as states began to outlaw the drug and smoking became a secret behavior. Derived from the Mexican and Spanish, the term had an exotic underworld, dark Latin culture. Nunberg says the characteristic of subcultures, you want to have your own word. Actually, I thought that word came from the Mexican word marijuana. They left that part out. Anyways, even and as consuming cannabis moves into mainstream in Colorado, not everyone will agree on a common phraseology, especially children and their parents, who've never agreed on much when it comes to what's hip. In the 1960s and 70s, the word dope signified hard drugs to the older generation, but made it clear in their own. But it wasn't long before the next generation decided it was time to reinvent the word and make it their own term for marijuana. Young people will use dope to end up to the old fogies making fun of them, Newberg says. Nowadays, people of the 60s and 70s might still refer to the drug as pot, but their own children are more likely to call it weed. While parents and their kids can disagree, many pot growers and sellers have pushed to adopt the term cannabis, the Greek word that also gave birth to the English hemp. They agree using a scientific term is more neutral and does not carry the historical baggage of street slang. Newberg disagrees. If you're having problem having to use the scientific term in a funny way, you're acknowledging you've got a problem, Newberg says. He suggests, why do you rather do is detoxify these terms that are already in use, he says, as over the next few years, a few of the most popular words will undergo what he calls a cleansing. By being used in everyday language, they'll lose much of their stigma and negative connotations of the past, Newberg says, adding that people will eventually settle on a few default terms for the drug, and the way that alcohol is generally referred almost exclusively as alcohol or booze today. So while we might get a little too paranoid to settle on one common term for the drug right away, at least the language for pot will undergo a transformation as we start to see smoking it in a new light.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like booze and alcohol. Yeah, I call it stupid juice myself, but that's my own thing. But yeah, it's interesting. And we talk about marijuana being a Mexican slang word, and yet I ask a Mexican what their word for pot is, and they'll tell you that it's mota. So I never heard a Mexican say marijuana. All I heard Americans. But anyway, so we jump into another story real quick. This is in the Bend Bulletin. Excuse me. This is by Inge Freiklund. Is a speaker for law enforcement against prohibition. She lives in Bend. She's saying it's time to put adults in charge of marijuana. Today in Oregon, kids are buying readily available marijuana from unknown, unregulated sources. The supply chain may go all the way back to some Mexican cartel, but it's guaranteed that all the profits will go to criminals. No one knows the potency or purity of the substance being sold, or how much pesticide contamination there might be. People undoubtedly are driving while high, as they do with alcohol. But unlike with labeled beer or wine, consumers have no way of knowing what potency they have ingested before getting behind the wheel. Clearly, marijuana is a problematic substance, like alcohol, cigarettes, and prescription drugs, with positives and negatives. Prohibition has not addressed these negatives, let alone solved them. As Albert Weinstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. With our current enforcement-based system, the responsible adults in the community have abdicated their responsibility to control marijuana, a substance that is both widely available, and in demand. We have left all decisions about source, distribution, sale, potency, and purity up to criminals, instead of proactively working to prevent or reduce problems with the distribution and sale of marijuana. We have being reactive, getting involved only after the sales to kids have already occurred when police make arrests for drug offenses. So anyway, we're running out of time here. So, but what we're talking about is the fact that if you regulate it, you have control, just as in alcohol, and we see several examples of that. So that's just the way it is. So we're going to wrap this up. We have one more special guest. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Welcome back to the third segment of the Eugene Cannabis TV show, episode 547. We have another guest, a real special guest. We have Elvy Musikka. Elvy, we're lucky enough to have Elvy living here in Eugene. Elvy is one of the 4 remaining federal medical marijuana patients. Been on the program since 1988. And so I wanted to jump in real quick and talk about the hemp stocks coming up. That's coming up the 27th and 28th. Elvy will be up there the 27th speaking. What time are you speaking, do you remember?
I think it's around 4:30.
Okay, around
but
4:30.
I'll be there both days.
Yeah, I'll be there both days, so be sure and say hi when you see her. I'll be up there on Sunday. I'm speaking at 5 minutes to 3. So, free event. That's at hempstock.org, and that's at the Tom McCall Waterfront Park. And that's right downtown Portland, right on the river. So it's a great venue, and it's going to be an incredible event. And again, I tell you, it's free. So you got no excuse not to go.
We haven't done it there in a long time.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, see, I forgot how many years ago it was that they were there, but yeah, we were there once before. So anyway, we wanted to talk about the Measure 91, and Elvy especially wanted to speak on that, the legalization initiative. We just came from the opening party for their headquarters here in Eugene, and that's at 1603 Oak Street. We think there are probably 12, 14, 16 or so people there signing up to help out and picking up lawn signs, bumper stickers. And what do you think of that whole thing, Elvy?
Well, I'm very excited because Oregon, as you know, you have been working on this since '82 successfully. And in '98, I was lucky enough to work with all of you on your initiative, although I spent other times working on education here in Oregon forever, it seems. I finally moved here 10 years ago. But now you have a total legalization for people over 21, well overdue. And there are so many reasons why this has to go through, because our conscience has got to be heard. You can no longer afford this prohibition at any level. $1 trillion? No, you can't do that. Morally, to continue the prison industry, the legacy of Richard Nixon, a man who left the presidency for lack of honesty. 25 million of us have been arrested because of it. The paper mills and the environmental disaster we're causing with this prohibition are unaffordable. The ozone is being destroyed. No matter how much we try to fix it, you can't keep pouring chlorine and acid from those trees when you have a plant that grows annually to make better paper. the medical issue, to make people suffer the way that man is right now in jail that you just had earlier on your show, and so many other. We all have to remember 2,000 people today, yesterday, and tomorrow are being and will be arrested unless you put a stop to this insanity. 2,000 and you never even get to read 2 stories? What's wrong with this picture, folks? Do you understand what you have made me understand over the years? If I'm not part of the solution, I am the problem. That goes for all of us. Remember that to arrest an adult for choosing a wiser bud at this point has got to be the limits of stupidity and hypocrisy. But to arrest an adult for choosing the Creator's work, there's no other word to describe that except blasphemy, blasphemy, blasphemy. You have an opportunity to make a real change. Please don't let it go by. End this madness. Vote to end this marijuana prohibition right here in Oregon. You're the leaders. Keep moving.
That's right. Vote yes on Measure 91. That's the legalization initiative that'll be on the ballot here in Oregon on November 4th. And registering to vote is a real simple thing. It's only 6-8 questions. Won't cost you a dime. Relatively painless, as I like to say.
Right.
And you've got 28 days to register to vote from today, because you have to be registered to vote by October 14th to be able to vote in the November 4th election. So make sure your friends, your circle of friends, everybody, family is all registered and ready to go. Again, that's at 1603 Oak Street is the election headquarters here in Eugene. Stop by and pick up a lawn sign, pick up posters, bumper stickers. So we need all the information and all the help we can get. They need people that spend time on the phone bank, so be sure and sign up to help out. And we appreciate Elvy. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Dan.
We'll see you next time. Elvy will be back again. We'll
thank you to the crew and to everyone else. Thank you here. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Get out there and vote.